Let's talk some Eagles here. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Hope you're all having a great Tuesday night. If you're waking up with me on Wednesday morning, I appreciate that as well. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Couple of things right off the rip. I'm here in Indianapolis for the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine. As you can see, got the backdrop right behind me. I'm up on one of the podiums that Nick Sirianni was on a little bit earlier, and we have exclusive coverage up on the channel right now. Howie Roseman's full interview up on Philadelphia Eagles Now, in addition to Nick Sirianni's full interview, which is up on the channel as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you hit that subscribe button. I'm giving you top-notch, high-level, elite Eagles coverage every single day, year-round. It is awesome that we have opportunities to do this, doing shows from Super Bowl Radio Row in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, here in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. Going to be here until Saturday. So we spoke with Nick. We spoke with Howie. We're going to catch up with some draft prospects and see who the Eagles are meeting with here in Indy in the lead up to the 2026 NFL draft. As I did at the Super Bowl during Super Bowl week, we'll catch up with people who cover the NFL, other content creators, reporters, NFL insiders. We'll do that and a whole lot more. So don't forget to lock us in and hit that subscribe button. Coming up here on this edition of the program, I just want to pass along my marquee most notable takeaways from the Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni press conferences today. Howie, as we know, has always been very aggressive in NFL free agency, right? And among all the GMs who were here today, you talk to all of them about their team building philosophy and how they look at trades and how they go about improving their teams. There are very few who approach the game of football, team building, and team building strategy like Howie Roseman. I'd put him in his own class. John Schneider is there as well. Nick Caserio is a very active general manager as far as making trades. All these GMs have their different team building philosophies and the way that they go about things. And so over time, we know that Howie Roseman has been aggressive in free agency. He's been aggressive in making trades. This upcoming offseason, though, I think it's going to be a little bit different. I don't know if the Eagles are going to make some of these big external free agency signings and make splashes in free agency. And here's why. The Eagles in the past, of course, have been big spenders. At times, they've gone after players from other teams. But you think about where the Eagles are at right now, how they've used some of the void years, which are starting to come into play, even with the NFL salary cap increasing. The Eagles have invested also a lot of money into the offensive side of the football. And let's just run through it really quickly here, right? Saquon Barkley got a contract extension after last year. Jalen Hurts got a contract extension. A.J. Brown has gotten 2 contracts with the Eagles. Devontae Smith got a contract extension. Jordan Mailata got a contract extension recently. So too did Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, and Lane Johnson. That's 9 players right there. The 2 remaining who haven't gotten at least a second contract with the Eagles, or I should say players who are going to get hit free agency, because Dallas Goedert has gotten a couple deals with the Eagles. It's Dallas Goedert who's going to be a free agent, and Tyler Steen, who's on his rookie contract. So in 2025, the Eagles were the most expensive offense in the NFL as far as cash spent. And a lot of those players, some played well, some didn't, are back for 2026 and beyond. And so the Eagles don't have a lot of wiggle room. And you think about what they've had to do on defense because they have spent on offense with all of those aforementioned players. They've drafted and developed really well. And they have hit on a bunch of picks on the defensive side of the pill over the last couple of years. And so now Philadelphia on defense has the likes of Nolan Smith up for a contract extension. Jordan Davis up for a contract extension. Jalen Carter up for a contract extension. The Eagles start to look ahead to the future as well, and they're going to have to budget for the likes of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. And so with these big deals on the books starting to hit the books, the Eagles now have homegrown players they'd love to extend and keep. And that kind of brings me to the next point and takeaway that I have here. The Eagles love defensive tackle Jordan Davis, and they really value what he brings to the team on the field and as a person. And when you look back over the course of NFL history, sometimes oftentimes, it takes defensive tackles a little while to hit their stride, to develop fully, to turn into the players who many thought they'd be when they got drafted, wherever they got drafted. Jordan Davis, coming out of Georgia, was a terrific player. He was like top 10 in Heisman Trophy voting as a defensive tackle. Stupid. The guy at 6'6", 340 here in Indy, not too long ago, coming out of Georgia, ran a sub-5 40-yard dash. But I had concerns about Jordan Davis coming out of school. 2-down player, 3-down player. Initially, he was only a 2-down player. He couldn't stay on the field for 3 consecutive downs because he'd get tired. He wasn't in shape. As he's gotten in better physical conditioning, his game has gone to another level. And I thought in 2025, he played at an all-pro caliber level. But Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni as well, also run an organization that values culture. And Jordan Davis is a huge component and a huge pillar of the Eagles' culture off the field and in the locker room. And in just being around Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni today, I think the Eagles this offseason would love to lock up Jordan Davis to a long-term deal. When Howie was asked about exercising JD's fifth-year option, he said, oh, easy choice. He didn't even let the reporter, I think it was Jeff McClain, finish the question. It was a no-brainer for him. And I think from the Eagles' point of view, it's a no-brainer to lock him up to a long-term contract extension this offseason. Shifting gears to a player who was on the Eagles roster, who they traded for in the lead up to the NFL trade deadline, who ended up being a world beater and a terrific player under Vic Fangio, Jaelan Phillips. If the price is right, I would not be surprised if Howie prioritizes trying to bring back Jaelan Phillips. And I asked Howie about this. How do you measure and weigh a productive player who, after the trade, in 8 or 9 games with the Eagles, had more than 40 pressures, but is also going to cost a lot, plays a premium position, but also has a concerning health history? Medically retired in college, torn ACL, torn Achilles at the NFL level. And with how Howie responded to that, how he's talked about Jaelan Phillips this offseason, because he also met with reporters on Friday, I think ideally the Eagles would love to prioritize bringing him back. Here's the thing. He's still young, and he plays a premium position at pass rusher, and he could get a deal well north of $20 million because he's one of the top free agents on the open market here. I do think that the Eagles let Dallas Goedert and Reed Blankenship test free agency, and this is Howie also doing right by the player. He approaches Dallas Goedert. He approaches Reed Blankenship. They have productive conversations, and Howie says, test free agency. See what you can get. See what offers you demand, and then get back to me. If those offers are really high, I think that Reed Blankenship, Dallas Goedert are playing elsewhere. And just think about the sport that they're playing, right? Contact sport. NFL also stands for not for long. If Reed Blankenship gets solid money on a multi-year deal, yes, he's been a great developmental player for the Eagles as a former UDFA out of Middle Tennessee State. He's made some huge plays in big moments. But for him, he's got one career. He doesn't know how long that's going to last. If he does leave for really good money, I don't blame him. And then the same can be said for Dallas Goedert, who's in a different situation. Dallas Goedert is an older player. This might be his last opportunity to truly cash in and get more money before his career is done. And so if the Eagles do let Blankenship and Goedert go, I don't think they're at the top of their list as far as priorities. I wouldn't be surprised in how Howie and Nick talked about those players today. I've been talking about this all offseason. I think Devontae Smith in this new Sean Mannion offense can take his game to another level. I think that Devontae Smith is just as talented, if not more talented, than Jackson Smith and Jigba, who just won Offensive Player of the Year for the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks and led the NFL in receiving yards. Devontae Smith's been a terrific player since coming into the NFL. He's gone over 1,000 yards 3 times in 5 years. Great route runner, slippery in the open field, really good speed, plays bigger than his size. He can go up and get it. Great hands. He's a student of the game, and he works his ass off. But I don't know if the Eagles have maximized him as a player yet. And in this Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay type of system, I think Smitty can go off. And I hope to see him lined up in the backfield, lined up in the slot, lined up outside, exploiting mismatches and getting favorable matchups for himself. And when Nick was asked about this today, he was like, oh, yes, Devontae Smith can take his game to another level. So a new scheme, I think, can elevate Smitty in 2026. It's also become very clear that the Eagles were very interested in bringing in a Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay type of offense and scheme. And that's a big reason why they landed on Sean Mannion as offensive coordinator. And I'll play a lot of these clips tomorrow on the show, so be on the lookout for that. But I asked Howie, you cast a wide net in your offensive coordinator search. What impressed you about Sean Mannion? And he had a lot of really nice things to say. You know, how he plans to utilize our playmakers and him visualizing that, all that and more. But in the Eagles' process of casting a wide net and reaching out and interviewing a bunch of different candidates, this is what Jeffrey Lurie and Howie do. They love gathering intel on all these different guys to learn and understand different backgrounds, where the game of football is going, and they're able to take that knowledge, use it to their advantage, and then determine which candidate they think is best for them. And they think that Sean Mannion is the best candidate for them. I like the hiring. And Howie and Nick, I think, deserve credit for adapting, evolving, and being willing to move off of their old offensive system and usher in a new era of offensive football, especially Nick Sirianni. Coaches oftentimes and many times can get fired for being rigid and stubborn. It's not what Sirianni's doing here. He's understanding, hey, we got to make a change with our offensive scheme and system. We're going to make it. And Nick, Howie, they think that Jalen Hurts can play very well in this system. You are going to see a lot more under center for Jalen Hurts, a lot more play action. And Jalen Hurts last year on under center throws had a passer rating of 113. There's this misnomer and theory out there that's false. It's a lie that Jalen Hurts cannot play in this type of offensive scheme. He can. Otherwise, the Eagles, as Greg Cosell said to us here on Philadelphia Eagles Now during Super Bowl week, otherwise they wouldn't have made this move to bring in Mannion as OC. I also think this new offense, which is run-centric and run-heavy and values a really good running game, can lead to a big year for Saquon Barkley. Saquon's been working on his body. He was talking about this on the NFL Network the other day. He's excited about this new scheme. If the Eagles can get healthy along the offensive line and or address the offensive line, and Saquon Barkley can come into 2026 feeling a little bit refreshed, because he was a little bit sluggish in 2025, coming off a year in which he led the NFL in touches, I think Saquon could go off this upcoming season. Lastly, the Eagles, Howie, would gladly welcome Brandon Graham back to the team with open arms. And Howie made it a point to say how impressed he was with how BG was able to get after the quarterback and provide the Eagles with a pass rush from the interior. Now, he, of course, would help the Eagles fulfill a depth need at edge, because Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt are the only two edge rushers under contract, but they can use Brandon Graham on the inside as well. And he could be a very effective player, great leader, also really good against the run. So those are my takeaways from the Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni press conferences today. Tomorrow, I'll be back with the show, tossing to a lot of what they had to say. Check out the full interviews with Howie and Nick up on Philadelphia Eagles right now. As always, thank you so much for supporting the show. I will catch you all soon. Go Birds, and hit that subscribe button.